since we are now just starting the session itself, would request everyone to keep their cameras off and the systems on mute, so we'll be able to conduct the webinar in a right and justified manner. With me, Swapnali has also joined us through. She will be helping you with giving you a little more detailed technical aspect about SAT. I would be running you through over the overall principles, overall strategy that is required to understand about the concept of SAT. SAT Lab is our own platform that we have, helping students in preparing the right kind of SAT scores that are required for admissions abroad. Starting across with the seminar that we are, conducting today, the index or the journey that we'll be going through. I'll introduce you about myself. Would be moving across to digital SAT, giving you a little bit of information about it. The SAT practice will run you through the digital SAT and a little bit about why Let's Unbound from a very specific perspective of SAT itself. Now, just moving across to the next aspect, a little bit about the organization. Let's Unbound is admissions consultancy counseling organization that years ago had actually started across as a skill build company. We have got years of experience when it comes to be tutoring students. We have worked with more than 4,000 kids. We've got more than 125,000 hours of teaching sessions. We're present in more than 25 countries and are globally rated at 4.9 out of a 5 rating. We really pride ourselves when it comes to helping kids with the STEM skills, life skills, programming skills, various skills as aspect as even preparing you for courses that are required within admissions. We're helping you with the SAT practice, AP practice. So we will be going through one aspect of our strength, this SAT preparation today. But this is the overall understanding of the organization, where we really pride ourselves from as an organization that strengthened itself from the skill built, which is very vital, very core when it comes to preparing for this admissions journey abroad. Just to run you through with a little bit about my own past when it comes to admissions consultancy. I'm an international admissions consultant. I've been within the scope of I'm a consultancy within investments within EdTech for the last 12 years. I have done an MBA from Symbiosis, SCMHRD, and I have worked with brands as Jaguar Land Rover, Citibank, Standard Chartered. When it comes to the education sphere, I have worked with Crimson Education, I've worked with Added Education. Both of them are international players, are focused at admission abroad, be it Europe, be it USA. When it came across to Added Education, they really prided themselves or had strength when it comes to the sports routing. So over the years that I have worked across this domain of admissions abroad, I have worked with a number of kids being admitted into a top college in US for academics, for sports routing in both such specific aspects. So that's a little bit about me. I will be just moving across now to run you through about SAT itself. What is SAT? What are the importance of SAT itself? In which conditions are they normally taken across? So we will be discussing across on that. Just to run you through, SAT is one of the most recognized programs when it comes across to college admissions in United States specifically, because it was initiated actually by College Board. College Board is a non-profit organization, non-government organization in USA that is responsible for conducting SAT examinations throughout the globe, and the results of the same examination are not just valid when you talk about admissions in USA. SAT scores are being very actively used even now, as very close as India itself. Many colleges have started using the SAT score in terms of evaluating students' preparedness for a specific course in India itself. Along with USA, India, there have been colleges in Singapore that have also taken SAT scores. NUS, NTU for years have also done that. There is a certain news that NUS, NTU will also be looking across a joint entrance exam, but for a historical trend, SAT scores have been valid in that area. Along with that, SAT scores are also applicable for applications when you're applying for Canadian institutes, and there are also a lot of European universities that do also accept SAT scores. So in that terms, SAT is not just a paper in which we'll be only discussing about US admits, you could be using this competitive entrance exam for a lot more different places. The overall skills that this examination would be testing you across on would be with its reading, writing, language, maths. The test is scored on a scale from 400 to 1600, and it has equal emphasis when it comes to your evidence-based reading and writing section, and along with that the math section. SAT is not just about, let's say, memorizing fact. It is about critical thinking, problem solving, and it really wants you to take the theoretical knowledge and apply it to the real world scenarios. So it is also a very time crunch paper. What we normally look across and do say as a feedback about its toughness is that majority of the kids while attempting this paper in grade 12 should be able to get through with it in 100% if given 4 hours. The whole challenge then becomes you have to get it done in hours 14 minutes, which then makes it more of a time crunch paper. On the same side, we also do prepare kids to have a complete focus, complete attention for a marathon of 2 hours 14 minutes. So from a perspective, SAT at times may look like a short paper, but at the same time also does require students to prepare to give this examination, have that 1 2 hour of sitting and give it with 100% attention, as would be required for you to get a top result on it. Now, as I was saying, that the sections that are on SAT itself are two within your reading section or slash English section, and then the other section is what we call within mathematics. The syllabus that we would be rather looking across while students are preparing for SAT is your grade 10 mathematics, grade 10 English. They just want to understand how well have you learned the topics within high school, and how successfully can you apply them to real world scenarios, which then becomes a very good indicative in how does an admission officer can really give a judgment over your success on college itself. So that's the overall understanding or the basics when it comes to SAT. Now there are a couple of things that I have been changing across. For a lot of you guys may have heard that SAT has now become digital. So one part which is very clear, that it's an online paper. That's one aspect I'm sure everyone would have understood the moment you've heard about SAT going digital. The other aspect now that has now made SAT is become adaptive paper. Having being an adaptive entrance exam is a concept that has had been fairly new, even by the time that SAT has now adopted it in its own way of examining. But what is an adaptive exam? That every student would go through the same stage one, but then stage two would be differing on as per the performance that you would be putting across in stage one. So the idea is to differentiate, or let's say segregate students in terms ones where we would understand the kids to be getting good grades or having or a strong response on stage one to go across, if you'd see on my screen, to a harder stage two. Otherwise, if you have not scored well in this area, you would be moving across to the easier set of questions. The questions that you'd be getting here will not be as tough as the ones that I was just pointing you across on the other side of the stage 2. But the one major difference that also can happen, since you would be going to easier stage 2 dependent on those answers in stage 1, the final section of scoring that you may be going across to would be from 200 to 600. So the idea is, if you score well on the first stage itself, it opens you up to a higher range of score, but along with that you're also exposed to the more difficult set or medium or hard level questions that would then be becoming part of the scoring grade itself. But that is how we overall look at the SAT, the adaptive aspect about it. As I was saying, there are largely two sections: the writing section, and then you've got your math section, where your scoring would be largely between 200 to 800, and then that takes your overall scoring between 400 to 1600. And I mean, you could just see that in terms of the number of questions, you do have 64 minutes with the number of questions being allocated to you at 54. And the same thing within maths itself, with a time allocation of 70, you're going through 44 questions divided up into two sections itself. Now, just to run you through what are the kind of questions or what's the syllabus that you should be expecting if you'd be attempting the SAT examination. So, algebra, those various aspects as your linear equations in one variable, two variable, linear function system, and linear equations in two variables, all of these aspects will be covered. You'd be going to draw geometry and trigonometry, advanced maths in terms of ratios, rates, proportional relations, units, percentages. You'll also look across at one variable to two variable data and probability and conditional probability itself, along with problem solving and data analysis. That is the overall topics that you across when it comes to the maths section itself. Otherwise, the other aspect is within English, and English there you would be going to your graph structure, information, ideas, standard English conventions, and expression of ideas themselves. And that's how overall the questions are then at that stage really put across. So that was just only to give you a quick overview of the examination itself. Before we move across on to the aspects of, let's say, the SAT preparation, just to give you two quick slides in the importance of SAT and how important is it to you to go through and really give this examination. Beyond that whole aspect that I'll immediately discuss in the next slide, which is around SAT blind, optional, and mandatory. But just to follow up a process of a university in which you would now understand that the first level of testing that really comes across are your academic and test scores. Even though you would see that out of the 100 kids that apply to a Stanford University, only 3 students or 3% of students are eliminated at this round. But what this actually tells you is that you only those kids apply to a SAT to a Stanford where your SAT score is between 1500, 1550 and above. So if you're looking or even thinking of applying to any top university, those are the SAT scores that you need to manage. Because if you look across here, even at Princeton University, kids with the SAT score between 1500 to 1600, their acceptance percentage was just 8.2. And if your SAT score just drops below 1300, it goes under 3 times from 8.2, the amount of drop that you could have in that SAT, in that opportunity of a Princeton University. And that's the same narrative that you could again look across in your ACT scores as well. But again, today we'll be largely just discussing about SAT itself. So one other aspect, as I said, that years ago, and this largely happened around the time period of COVID, that the state of California had passed a legislative asking institutes to go SAT optional or SAT blind, because not all candidates had that equal opportunity of going and giving across with that SAT examination. So there were institutes that had moved to SAT optional and SAT blind, but over the couple of years we have seen that institutes as John Hopkins Institute, as Dartmouth, Harvard, Purdue, Brown, Yale, Caltech have all gone back and now really require you to submit their SAT and ACT score. Along with that, notable universities are actually now SAT optional rather than SAT blind, which include names as Columbia University, Princeton has gone into that SAT optional, so has Cornell, Stanford, University of Pennsylvania, and University of Chicago. So while looking across at this point of SAT optional, the idea here is that once you're submitting or not submitting, there's a certain statement that comes across with it. Any non-submission of a SAT score does point towards the admission officer that examining or having a SAT result is not a strength that you may represent. So all of those kids within a maths profile or a major that you're looking for, that is not a situation that we may like to be in. So largely, I do advise for students applying from India, wherever you see SAT optional, once we could do a one-on-one counseling, I could give this in an individualistic understanding. But once you see SAT optional, for you, that SAT mandatory. So those were the initial aspects that I just wanted to cover across with SAT mandatory, and how do I look across at the importance of SAT itself. Now, right, Swapnali, if you could just switch on your webcam, and I'll be handing over you to the webinar itself. So I'll take it back from you again once you are done. So I've stopped my share. You could just share your screen and you could take the aspects behind the maths preparation itself.
Yeah, sure.
Would-
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. A very good evening to all the students and parents who are present over here. So, a warm welcome to the webinar of SAT Masterclass. I guess sir has already given a wonderful information related to SAT. Okay, I won't be repeating that. Sir has mentioned two main important points. If you go through the sir's whatever sir has said, that the test is digital and the test is adaptive. Okay, I'm basically talking about maths. Okay, so when we talk about being digital, one of the advantage that we have is that we can use calculator. Okay, that is one of the most important advantage which we have. So only one thing is that try to use calculator a lot. That is what we are going to learn. Okay, yeah. So yes, I'm just sharing. I just hope my screen is also visible to everyone. Okay, now see, when we talk about specifically maths, okay, as you have also seen that there are some 20 to 22 questions which you need to attempt in module 1 as well as in module 2. What is important whenever you talk about exams like SAT, okay, so one of the important things that we are going to focus is conceptual understanding. Sir, for us, sir also mentioned one of the important thing that SAT mainly measures your what? It measures your high school understanding, basically whatever you have studied from your 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, that all is going to get measured. Okay, so conceptual understanding. See, once you have conceptual understanding, it's important that you will be definitely having the accuracy. So we are going to focus on that. Apart from that, what we want for such type of examination, we want that we are going to solve more questions in less time. So speed is important. Okay, in order to get that speed, it is very important that we apply specific strategy which we will be learning over a period of time. And the most important thing is exam stamina. Okay, what do I mean by exam stamina? Exam stamina means first we will be having English, we will be having 10 minutes break, and then we will be having mathematics. Okay, so it's very important that please we have to maintain a stamina as well. Okay, before we begin, I would like to say that if you have any doubt, any queries, kindly post in the chat box. And if you are right now present on the laptop or desktop, and if you are aware about Desmos, you can just try to open your Desmos because we will be solving few sums together. So what I will be doing, we will be solving few sums together, and then you will be having some practice questions which you can do. Okay, it's a request that please be interactive. You can type your answers in chat box and we can discuss from there. Okay, let's see. Give me a second. I will be trying to share my full screen so that I can switch between this window and the Desmos. Meanwhile, you all can set up your Desmos if you have, and grab a pen and paper if you have, so that we can have a quick calculations as well. Okay, just give me a second. Let me just switch on my entire screen. Okay, I hope my entire screen is visible. Also, if I look at Desmos, my Desmos is visible. Okay, again, I'm requesting that if any doubt or any difficulty, kindly make use of chat box. Okay, every time if we cannot unmute, it will become very difficult. So please make sure, take help of the chat box max to max. Okay, so let's solve the first question, and then definitely I will be going to full screen mode. Okay, now I would like you also students to read this question, and first I want you students to solve this question. Okay, you can see in a square ABCD, BC is 9 units, CF is given equal to FD, AE is given to equal to ED. Which of the following is the ratio of the shaded region area to the square's total area? Okay, I want you students to also think about it and quickly type your answer in chat box. We don't want that even only I will speak and you all will be just listening. I want the session to be interactive, but I cannot tell everyone to unmute. So it's a request to everyone, please make sure use your chat box and type in your answers. It's a very simple question. We don't have to apply that much logical thinking. We want the responses. Okay. Oh, fine. If you're doing direct message, then also it's fine, not an issue. Okay, that's great. Okay, so, okay, fine. We will slowly take a turn also. Now see, exactly. Now see, when you say such type of questions, okay, we always try to think in that way, like, we will find some area of this, we will try to divide into triangles, rectangles, something else, and then we'll be going with respect to that. Okay, let's make this thing simple. How do we make the thing simple? See, let me just try to open this. What I'm going to do, my idea will be that I will be drawing two lines from here. Okay, you can see this is one line, and let me draw the next line also from here to here. Okay, can you see that I have drawn small 4 squares? Okay, now let me count how many triangles will I get. Okay, so if I want to count at how many triangles will I get, do you agree, students? See, this is your first triangle, second triangle, third triangle, fourth triangle, fifth triangle, sixth triangle, seventh triangle, and eighth triangle. Okay, what we have to count? We have to count the shaded part, right? So do you agree how many total parts are there? Total parts are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Even this box will make 2 triangles, right? All of these are equal actually. Okay, so can I say total 8 are there? And out of that, how many of them are? Can I say 1, 2, 3? 3 of them are shaded. So can I say the answer is 3 over? Okay, those who have given the answer 3 over it, that's exactly correct. This is how it works. Okay, it's definitely at first we might think that we will try to form some triangle, we will try to find area. Okay, but let's not make that complicated. Okay, we can try to form the squares and then we can try to count the shaded. Okay, that is the way it will be working. Okay, fine. I hope it is clear. Please make sure you type in the answers whatever you feel that will be correct. Okay, do not hesitate in that. Okay, let's go to the next one. That's great, perfect. Let's go to the next one. Now I will try to switch to the slideshow. Okay, fine. Now see, let's have a look at the second question. Okay, now what is the second question telling to us? 4x minus 9y is equal to 9y plus 5. And the second equation is hy is equal to 2 plus 4x. Now, if you look at the question, okay, what is the question? In the given system of equation, h is a constant. If the system has no solution, what is the value of h? Now, what you all feel? Okay, we want to find the value of h. That is quite obvious. We have to find the value of h. But what is the condition given over here? We want that it should not have any solution. There should be no solution. Okay. What is the meaning of no solution? Anyone who knows, what do we mean by no solution? What is the meaning of no solution? What do we mean by no solution? There are 2 system of equations given to us. What do we mean by no solution? Very good. Someone is saying no intersection, no possible values of x. Very good. That's great. Yeah, let the answers come. I'm reading your messages. Yes, so whenever we say that no intersection of lines, correct. Now see, you can see first equation and the second equation, right? We all know they are the lines. Definitely, I do agree. And whenever we are saying no solution, students, what do we mean by no solution? They will not intersect. That is correct. Okay. So what it means, when we try to draw, do you agree the line should be parallel? You all agree with me that it should be what? The line should be parallel. Okay, so algebraically, what we are trying to sort graphically, what we mean that whenever we are saying that 2 system of equations, they don't have solution, it means that both these lines have to be parallel. Okay, now what is the one approach? One approach is that we can solve manually. Okay, but that will take a lot of time. Okay, you must have studied this in your academics how to solve manually, but that will take a lot of time. What we are going to use over here, we are going to use Desmos. And how do we use Desmos? Let's try to check. So let me show you that also. Okay, so I will be just putting these 2 equations on Desmos. Okay, my screen will be visible to you, I think, yes. So let us put that 4x minus 9y is equal to, sorry, I will do constantly switch it, 9y plus 5. This is my first equation. Then on the second line, okay, on the second line I will take the second equation, hy. I will add the sign for hy is equal to 2 plus 4x is equal to 2 plus 4x. Okay, now see, we will try to do with the help of options now. What was our first option? Our first option is negative 9, if you can see, right? Now, if I write over here negative 9, okay, oh, now what you can see over here, it's an intersecting, right? So what you feel, student, will it be right answer? When the option 1 will be right, what we want no solution. It means what? it means that it should not intersect, right? So minus 9, can you say it is intersecting over here? So minus 9 is a wrong option. Okay, so the second is 0. Let's try to put 0. Again, over here, do you agree it is intersecting over here, right? Okay, we want they should be parallel. So again, this will be wrong. Okay, let's talk about 9. Again, do you agree this is again intersecting, right? Again, can I say we want no solution, right? Okay, let us try our final option, that is 18. Okay, so if we try to put over 18 over here, so do you agree? Let me just minimize it, maximize it. Okay, so do you agree, student, these two lines are parallel? Okay, so and what we know that, okay, when the lines are parallel, they don't have any solution. Okay, so do you agree that in this case, my answer will be what? My answer will be 18. Okay, so this is what the magic of Desmos is. With the help of the Desmos, you can easily do the sum. See, if we want to do it manually, you have to make y as a subject and then you have to apply the conditions. Okay, but if you see that in Desmos, we just know one thing, that the line should be parallel, and we have just written down the options. We have just checked the options, that's it. Okay, I hope it is clear. Yes, exactly, it's 80, correct. Okay, that's great. Okay, okay. Let's move to other question. One of my favorite question. Okay, now see, there are various aspects to solve this question. Okay, we have manual method also. Okay, and we have one method also. Okay, now let's try to read the question first of all. In a xy plane, a parabola has vertex 3, -8 and intersects the x-axis at 2 points. Okay, if the equation of the parabola is of the form ax square plus bx plus c, where a, b, c are constant, which of the following could be value of a plus b plus c? Okay, now remember students, such type of questions are frequently asked in SAT exams. Such type of questions. Okay, now what would our approach be? Now see, before I directly rush into the Desmos and tell you that this is how it works or that is how it works, okay, few conceptual understandings are very important. Whenever we talk about a parabola, okay, so quadratics, right? We know quadratics, the graph is like a parabola, right? Okay, the three things are very important over here is that, like, how does a quadratic function look like? How do we represent quadratic function? So there are mainly 3 ways to represent a quadratic function. I'm just giving you the conceptual understanding. Some students might not be aware of this. So it is 3 ways there are there to represent the quadratic function. The very first way to represent the quadratic function is a standard form. Okay, this form you can see the student y is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. Okay, this is called as a standard form. Okay, the second form through which we can represent the quadratic equation or expression is a vertex form. Okay, if h comma k is a vertex given to you, so how do we represent a times x minus h the whole square plus k? This is a vertex form. And the third form, if the two factors are given to you, what do we mean by factors? The one which touches the x-axis. Okay, if p and q, these are the two factors given to you, students. So the factor form is what? A times x minus p times x minus q. Okay, so why is this necessary to know? Yes, that is necessary for you to know. Okay, because this understanding is important. See this? Yes, we definitely need this. Why? Because see, they have told us that it is having vertex 3, -8. So definitely we will be requiring which form? Now you student tell me. Okay, we are having standard form, vertex form and the factor form. Okay, they have given the vertex to me. So which form will make sense? Should I write in standard form or should I write in vertex form or should I write in factor form? They have given me the vertex. What you feel? In which form should I represent this quadratic if the vertex is given to me? Yes, any response? If you feel that the vertex is given to me, okay, what you feel that which form is more sensible for me to write or to represent? Very good. Otherwise saying vertex form, that is correct. Yeah, definitely if the vertex is given to me, definitely we will be representing that with the help of the vertex form. Okay, so this is important. Now let's try to solve this with the help of a Desmos. But let us, what do we want exactly? We want value of a plus b plus c. Now again, one of the important things, students, over here. Okay, what we want value of a plus b plus c. Now just look at this. Y is equal to ax square plus bx plus c, right? Okay, Now you tell me, I will get A plus B plus C. Do you agree when my x is equal to 1? When my x is equal to 1, I will be getting A plus B plus C. Y is equal to what? A plus B plus C. So actually, we want to get the value, okay, of y when x is equal to 1. Because when my x will become equal to 1, I will be getting A plus B plus C. Okay. Now let's try to do something on decimals. Okay. I just have only one thing, that is a vertex. And as Atharva also said that we will be using a vertex form. So let's try to do that. Okay. So let's try to do that. So we will be, let me just clear this. Okay. So we will be using the vertex form. What is the vertex form? A times x minus h. What is our h over here? Our h is 3. The whole square minus 8. Let me just check if it is correct or not. Yes, 3 comma negative 8. Okay, so this is our vertex. Okay, now you can see over here, I hope everyone can see, this is my vertex 3 comma negative 8. Okay, now again student, remember one of the important thing. What is one of the important thing? Whenever, again going again back to the conceptual knowledge, when we say the vertex form and when we talk about quadratic, you all are aware that either it will open like this or it will open like this, right? Whenever it open upward, do you agree the parabola or your quadratic function will have minimum value, okay? And this minimum value will occur at what? Vertex. If it open downward, what will happen? It will have the maximum value, and this maximum value will occur at what? It will occur at vertex. Okay, so whether it is opening upward or whether it is opening downward, the minimum and maximum respectively will always occur at the vertex. Okay, now why I'm telling you this? Now just look at this. Okay, can you see the graph is opening upward, right? The minimum value where it is occurring at 3. And what is the minimum value, students? Negative 8. It means that negative 8 is the smallest value. Okay, what we want y is equal to ax square plus bx plus c. This is given to us, right? We want value of a plus b plus c, right? Okay, so can I say what? My x will be equal to 1, right? Our x should be equal to 1, right? Now, if we check x equals to 1, okay? If I check x equals to 1 over here, okay? If we check x to be 1, let us say, okay? So, do you agree if my x is equal to 1, okay? Even if we don't check it, forget about that of checking. Just look at this, 3 comma negative 8. Negative 8 is a minimum value, right? So what we can say, all other values, okay, has to be what? It has to be greater than negative 8. Okay, see why we are saying this? When x is equal to 1, right? See where the minimum is occurring. The minimum is occurring at 3. And what is the minimum value? Negative 8. It means at all other points, whichever points you take apart from 3, okay, the value should be what? The value should be greater than negative 8. Okay, let us have a look at the option. Okay, let us have a look at the option. If we look at the option, okay, what I said, minimum is occurring at where? Minimum is occurring at 3. So if you take any point apart from 3, the value should be greater than negative 8. Now just have a look at the option. This is what? This value is negative 24. Negative 24 is lesser than negative 8, right? Which is wrong. Negative 16. Can I say this is also lesser than negative 8, which is wrong. Negative 8. See, what we have seen that it is negative 8, this value is occurring only at 3. This is also wrong. So the answer is what? The answer is negative 5. Okay, that is how you have to approach. Okay, why minus 5 is correct? Because negative 8 is a minimum value. Below negative 8, we will not get any value. That is the minimum value of your parabola. Okay, so it makes sense that the other answer has to be so. And where it is occurring at negative 3. It is occurring basically at 3, right? So if we are asking related to other values, whether x takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, all the other values should be greater than negative 8. If you look at negative 24, negative 12, negative 8, they are not less than, they are not basically greater. Okay, that's why negative 5 is correct. Okay, do remember such type of questions are really very important. They definitely come in the exam. Okay, yes, any doubt, any difficulty? See, for such type of questions, directly if I say that go rush into the decimals, it's not possible. You should know some conceptual understanding. Okay, so it's a blend of everything. Okay, okay. See, our strategy is what to complete this sum in a lesser time. Okay, Now I'm explaining you and I'm telling you that's why it's taking more time. But otherwise, once you have habitual, once you will be taking a lot of practice, then it will be very easy for you. Okay. I hope it's clear. And let's go to the next one. Okay. Now here comes the other side. Okay. 8x plus 7y is equal to 9. 24x plus 21y is equal to 27. For each real number r, which of the following point lies on the graph of each equation in the xy plane for the given system? Fine. Any idea anyone is having? You can type in the chat box. What is the basic idea to do such type of sums? They are asking us, you can see r minus 8r plus 9 by 7 minus 8r plus 9 by 7r, and such type of coordinates are given to you. What is the basic idea? Two equations are also given. Look at the two equations. What do you feel? Forget about the first one. Have a look at the second one first. Any idea? Like, look at the second equation. Can you factorize or do something, and what information do you get from second one? No idea? No one is having any idea? Look at the second one. Come on, everyone try. It doesn't matter even if it goes wrong. What is the speciality about the second equation if you look everyone? Okay, so just have a look at the second equation. If you look at the second equation, okay, do you agree that we can do what? We can factor out 3 over here, right? So can I say it will be what? It will be 8x plus 7y is equal to 27. Okay, now let us do one thing. We can divide by 3, so it will be 8x plus 7y is equal to 27 divided by 3, which is 9. So if you have a look, students, the first equation and the second equations are basically the same. Okay, if you factor out the 3, you get first and second to be the same. So instead of using first and second, we will be using just the first equation. We will go ahead. Okay. Now see, one of the important thing. Now forget about the second equation because it is same as the first equation itself. 8 7y is equal to 9. Okay. Now look at the options which are given to us. R, minus 8r by 7 plus 9 by 7. These options looks critical. These options looks difficult. Okay. Also, we have to check that which one of them is a solution. We all know solution means what? Which satisfy left hand side is equal to right hand side. Okay. But we cannot check each and every option manually and then check whether left hand side is equal to right hand side or not. So again, we will be using what? We will be trying to use Desmos. So let's try to do that. Okay. We will put what? We will put this 8x plus 7y is equal to 9. Okay. Now see, if you look at the question, student, the questions are also saying one thing, that for each real number r. Okay. So trust me, take any real number r. Try to put value of r. Do not just take r. Then you have to add a slider and then you have to check. Okay. Again, that will be little troublesome. Literally take any value of r because they're saying for each real number r. Let us take our simple number 0. Okay, let us take r to be 0. Okay, so if I take r to be 0, I'm just writing it for your sake over here. So if I take r to be 0, it will be 0, 9 by 7, right? First point. Second point will be 9 by 7, 0. Third point will be 9, 27. I'm putting r to be 0. Can I do that? Yes. Why? Because for each real number r, we have to check. Okay, so let's take r to be 0. Okay. Then let us take r to be 0 over here. It will be what? 9, 27. Basically, third and fourth point are same if I take r to be 0. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these points on Desmos. Okay. So I've written down my equation. Now let me put as a coordinate. What I'm going to put 0, I think so it's 9 by 7. 9 by 7. Okay. Let me label it out. Okay. If I label it out. Okay. Now see, the good thing, if you can see, if I zoom this, do you agree this point is lying on the line, right? And what we know? We know that if this point lies on the line, definitely it will be the solution, right? But let us take the other 2 to 3 points also, which are 9 by 7, 0. Students, if we look at this 9 by 7, 0, does it lie? What do you feel? The green point I'm talking about. Does it lie on the line? No, right? It doesn't lie on the line, right? So can I say this is not a solution? Let us take the last point also, which is there 9, 27. 9, 27. Let me just label that also. Let us just check where is 9 by 27. See, 9 by 27 is very far away from the line. So can I say even that will not be true, right? Okay. So easily can I say my option A is my answer. Okay. No need to worry about R for each real R. Okay. Can we do it manually? Yes, we can do it manually also. What we have to do? We have to do a lot of hard work. In place of X, try to put R. In place of Y, try to put minus 8R by 7 plus 9 by 7. And check, solve that and check whether it is equal to 9 or not. And again, if we do calculation mistake, our entire answer will go wrong. Okay, so try to make use of this. Okay, and you must have observed one important thing. I have taken R to be 0. Okay, so basically try to that number which will make your calculation little simple. Do not put any slider or do not put any random value. Try to put that value which will make your calculation very simple. Okay, and what we are checking, that point should lie on that line, because if that point is lying on that line, it means what? It means that it is the solution to that particular equation. Okay. So such type of questions are also like when I go through the past 2 to 3 year, like past 1 year paper of July version, I could confidently say that such type of questions were definitely there. Okay. So please make sure that these are some tips and tricks you have to follow. Okay. Now over here, the graph which you can see, student, it is of fx minus 11. Okay, the graph which you can see right now on your screen is of fx minus 11. Okay, now we have to find which of the following function defines f. Okay, first of all, one mistake student does, in spite of being very simple question, is that he does not read the question properly. Okay, he assumes that this is the graph of f of x. Okay, no, it's very important that this is the graph of f of x minus 11. We have to find f of x. Okay, now few tips and tricks again. The line is like this. Okay, so generally we know that if it is like this, increasing, basically slope is positive. Okay, over here the slope is negative. So our first, the brain will give us a thought that slope has to be a negative slope. So if you look, students, everywhere negative, 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 negative. Okay, so no point of that. Okay, all the slopes are negative, that is fine. Okay, now you tell me, everyone, I am having f of x minus 11. The graph, this graph is of f of x minus 11. I want f of x from this. What should I do? Should I add something? Should I subtract something? Should I multiply something? Or should I divide by something? F of x minus 11. Is that graph of f of x minus 11 is being given to you, and we want f of x from that. Very good. Ayan, very good. What about other students? F of x minus 11 is being given to you. I just want f of x. So what we'll be doing? We will be definitely, as Ayantha, will be definitely adding 11. That's correct. Very good. So that is the first point to be noted. The second point, when I add 11, do you agree it will be just shifting 11 unit upwards? It will shift 11 unit upwards. So do remember one thing, your slope. Okay, what is slope? Change in y over change in x. Your slope will not change. And this is very simple. Take 2 points. Okay, so the faster, there is also the faster way. Just take 2 points, minus 2, 0. Oh, wait. Give me a second. Okay, I will start the PPT again. Wait a second. Okay, let me just write this. Okay, you all can see, right? Okay. Okay, so let me write with this. So what I was saying, that slope is negative, that is fine. Okay. Now Ayan said that if I want f of x from f of x minus 11, I need to add 11. That is definitely correct. So we will be adding 11. Okay. But do remember, when we say that we are adding 11, what we are doing, students? We are just shifting it up by 11. Okay. So it's what? It's a vertical translation. Okay. So your slope will remain the same. Okay. What is slope? Change in y over change in x. How do we calculate? If any 2 points you can take on this line. Okay. Change in y2 minus y1. Can I say it's minus 4? X2 minus x1. 0 minus minus 2 is 2. So can I say the slope has to be minus 2? So either it will be B or either it will be D. Okay. One more common thing you can see is that look at D. It's minus 11. The y-intercept is minus 11. Okay. So do you agree that we will be moving it 11 unit upwards, right? When we say 11 unit upward means what? Right now it is at -4, right? So we are going up. Y-intercept is at -4, right? We are going 11 units up. So we will be doing +11, right? So do you agree one thing, that it cannot be -11, right? We are not going down. We are going up, right? -4 plus 11. Can I say it has to be 7? That's it. So -2x plus 7. Okay. Oh, from where? You can try to check that method also, Aditya. You can try to check that method also. You can try to check that method, yes. If you are doing -11, because this is definitely f of x, if you try to check -11, that should be definitely, yes. Very good, Aditya. Very good, that's great. So even Aditya has given us one beautiful method. What we said that f of x -11 graph we have. Very good, Aditya, first of all. F of x -11 graph we had. And what I said that from f of x -11, I will be going to f of x, so I will be adding 11. What he has said that he will be subtracting 11 from over here to check whether this is a graph of f of x -11. Very good, that is also correct. Okay, thanks for sharing. So do share your ideas with me also, right? Okay, that is very wonderful. Okay, so instead of adding 11, okay, these are the graph, this is the options of f of x. If I do f of x -11, okay, I will check whether I'm getting this graph or not. Okay, that is also true. I think so that will make more sense also, but again you have to check the two options of slope. More or less it's same, but the approach is correct. Okay, that's great. So definitely you can have your own tips and tricks. Remember, always remember. That's very correct. Okay. Again, one of the very famous type of question. Okay, I request all of you to read this question and then let me know what are your opinions on this. Okay, or what is your method of solving such type of questions. Okay, let me just read it for everyone. First of all, a cost of renting a backhoe for up to 10 days is $270 for first day and $135 for each additional day. Okay, which of the following equation gives the cost for renting for x days where x is less than equal to 10? Okay, now first of all, I would like you all to solve. Take some 2 minutes and you all solve. Okay, not an issue. Oh, very good, Ayan, that's great. Very good. Let's check. Oh wow, we are getting the responses. That's great. Doesn't matter if it is right or wrong. Just try to read and solve it. Okay? Don't worry about that. Okay. So see, first of all, yeah, very good. Let us understand the questions. Sometimes the biggest problem of the word problem is that we sometimes directly just read the question. Okay, one of the important strategies is what understand that sometimes you have to read it part by part and then try to understand what you're getting from each part. Okay, over here if you try to read, students, that cost of renting a backhoe up for 10 days is $270 for first day. So it is $270 for my first day. If I'm renting it, the first day fee is $270 and $135 for each additional day. Okay, now we have rented it for X days. We have to find the total cost. Now forget about X days. Forget about the X days. If I'm renting it for, let us say, 10 days. Let me just rent it for 10 days. So do you agree one thing? For my first day, I will be paying $270. Okay, only for the first day I will be paying $270. Now out of 10 days, my first day went, right? How many days are remaining now? 9 days are remaining, right? So these 9 days are additional days, right? I won't be paying $270 for that. I will be just paying $135 for each of the 9 days. Okay, let me take one more example. If I'm renting it for, let me rent it for 8 days. If I'm renting it for 8 days, so for first day I will be paying $270, right? Because only for $270 is for first day, right? For the next 7 days, how many days are there? 8 days are there total. From that 8 days, 1 day went away because 1 day I have paid the rent of $270, right? So do you agree, everyone? 7 days are there still. Okay, 7 days, this is important. So for 7, these are my 7 additional days. So for 7 days, I'm paying $135. Now let us try to generalize it for x days. I'm having x days. Very good, I guess, and we are getting the response there. Okay, yeah, we will get to that. Okay, so see, x days are there. So for the first day, I'm paying $270, right? Now, how many days are remaining, student? If we are doing for 10, 9 days were remaining. If we are doing it for 8 days, 7 days were the additional. You all will agree to that. Now, x days are there. Okay, 270 for the first day. Now, how many additional days are there? Can I say x minus 1? This is important. This x minus 1 are the additional day where you are paying students $135. Okay, that is important. Okay, where you are paying $135. Okay, so now you have to do this calculation, 270 plus 135x minus 135. So 270 minus 135, I think so it's 135, right? So 135 plus 135x, that should be your answer. Okay, what is the most common mistake that has been done by student is that they write 270 plus 135x, which is wrong. Okay, for first day you are having $270, but for each additional day after that you will be having how much? You will be having 130. Okay. Oh yeah, that is correct. X minus 1 part is very important. Okay, because that one day will go away. Okay, yeah, that's great, Ayan. Okay, I will answer your query also. Okay, don't worry. Okay, that is correct. Okay. Again, this is one of the most hot question which you can say. Hot means not with respect to difficulty level, but with respect to application. Okay, normally forget to subtract x minus 1. Okay. Now, okay, so we are having a little short of time, so let's go quickly to the next question. Okay, now our favorite question from circles. Okay, x square plus x plus y square plus y is equal to 199 by 2. This is the equation of the circle. What is the length of the circle's radius? Okay. The first part is that now I do appreciate that you students must have studied some general form, some standard form, and you equate something and you get the answer. That is fine. Okay. One form which I remember that is very useful is this form. X minus h the whole square plus y minus k the whole square is equal to r square. I just like this form, and it's very easy for me to calculate the radius through this form. In your academics, you must have studied that x square plus 2gx plus 2fx is equal to something. That I don't remember. Okay, but some students try to do with the help of that also. Okay, see, this sum you can do directly with the help of Desmos. Whenever they ask you sums related to circle, specifically the radius and the diameter, what you can do, just put into Desmos. How do we do that? Quickly, x square plus x. So let's try to put x square plus x plus y square. Just check again. Y square plus y is equal to 199 by 2. Alright. Now you can see my circle is there, right? What I will try to do, students, I will try to calculate the diameter. Okay. So let me just have a look at this point. 0,9.48749. Let me write it down. 9.48749. This is my 0,1 point. Let me have a look at the other point. Can I say other point is 0, minus 10.48749. Let me calculate the distance. How do I calculate the distance? Okay, so obviously you see it's a 0, 0 over here, right? So we'll be adding these 2 points, right? So 9 plus 9 points, 9.48749 plus 10.48749. Okay, that is what, this is my diameter. What I want the radius. So what should I do if I want the radius? Yes, exactly correct. Yes, that's correct. 19.97 is correct. Very good. The diameter is correct. Well done. Divide by 2 if I want the radius, right? So can I say it is 9.98? See, the instructions will be given to you. You can write 9.98, or if they tell you to round up to nearest whole number or something else, it will be 10. Okay, but if no instructions are given to you, even 9.98 is also correct. Okay, but generally they do give the instructions. Okay, so either it will be, you can write 9.98, or else if they tell you to round to nearest whole number or something else, 10 will also. Okay, so that's how it is simple. Okay, again, if you think to try manually, 2 things is that you cannot directly say that radius is root of 199 over 2. I have seen many students doing that. No. You have to first convert into this form by completing the square, and then you can say. Again, it is very time consuming. So I am telling you one thing, whenever it is any sums which has expressions, which has equations, which has some circle stuff where they ask you to find radius or the diameter, please make sure try to use this. That will help you. We want to the next one. Oh, again one of my favorite question. Okay, just a second. Okay, now many a times we don't understand the question itself, especially this word problems. Okay, let's read it. F and G are the functions given x is greater than equal to 0, 5. Which of the following equation displays as a constant or a coefficient the maximum value of the function? So first what we have to do, many a time we don't understand what we have to find or what the question is asking to us. Okay, so one of the important thing over here is what see. What is the first important thing is that, the very first important thing is that find the maximum value of the function. Okay, if whatever maximum value of the function we get, okay, it should be either the constant or it should be the coefficient. Coefficient is what? See, can you see for this g of x, coefficient is 8. It doesn't have any constant. Constant is 0. For the function f, what is the coefficient? 19. And what is the constant? Anyone who can get constant? What is the constant? Ayan, give it approach. Let's check. What is the constant for the first f of x? I know coefficient is 19. Constant is what? 43, right? Okay, so what is important first? We have to find the maximum of the function, and then we have to check that maximum. It should be either the constant or it should either be the coefficient. Again, who will help us? Desmos. Okay, so let's try to do that. Very good, Ram, that's great. Okay, 43 is the constant, that's correct. Let's do the first one. F of x is what? F of x is equal to 19. And then it is 1.27 raised to x. 1.27 raised to x, 1.27 raised to x plus 43. Okay, now let me just check. Now see, one of the important thing over here also, okay, after doing this, many students forget that we have to take x greater than equal to 0. Okay, if you forget this, then that will be of no use. X greater than equal to 0. Okay, now just look at the green shaded portion. Okay, now what we want first to find the maximum value of this function. Now students, if you look at this maximum value, the function, you just go see the function graph. It is just going like this upward, right? You have to just look at the right hand side green shaded portion. Why we are not looking at the left hand side? Because we want x greater than equal to 0. So if you see students, the function graph is just going above like this. So can I say maximum is basically, it's not there only, right? Okay, so it doesn't make any sense. Okay, maximum is basically it is going on increasing. So do you agree that is neither the coefficient nor the constant? So first option is purely a wrong option, because we are not getting any maximum value itself. It is going up, it is increasing itself. So if you look at the first option, it is wrong. Okay, so if you look at the option student, so 1 only is wrong, and can I say 1 and 2 is also wrong. So directly we can eliminate 2 options. Now we have to just check second option. Either it will be the second option or it will be none of. Okay, what is second? 8 times. Let me write over here. So it is 8 times. Let me just cut this. So g of x is what? It is equal to 8 times 0.77 raised to x, right? Okay, this is the question. Let me just bring it back to the normal position. And x is greater than equal to 0. Okay, now let me make it little small. What we have to find, student? We have to find the maximum value. So we have to look at the right hand side. Okay, we will not be looking at this side. Okay, don't look at this side. Okay, so over here, can I say the graph is like this? What is maximum value? Graph, how your graph is looking? If you look at the graph is like this, right? It is decreasing. So can I say this value is your maximum value? Do you agree with that? That value is your maximum value, correct? Okay, so this is value, right? 0.8 is your maximum value. Now you tell me one thing. This 8 is a maximum value, right? Look at 8 and look at g of x. What we want maximum value? it should be either the constant or it should be the coefficient. I'm making one statement. 8 is my coefficient over here. Is this correct or is it wrong? Yes, correct. Great. 8 is my coefficient. Maximum value, what is the maximum value? Maximum value is 8, right? Do you agree? Maximum value is 8, right? What I want that maximum value to be, I want either it should be the constant or either it should be the coefficient. There is no constant over here, we do agree. But can I say coefficient is 8? Right? That is what we wanted, right? So can I say correct option is what? Second is the correct option. Okay, that's good. Right? Okay. So this is how it goes. Okay. Reading some 2 to 3 strategy if I want to list down. So what I feel is that first important thing is that understanding the question is actually important thing. Okay. Just saying that use Desmos, but if you don't understand the question, it's of no use. Understanding the question plays a very important role. Second thing is that whenever you have word problems, now in this session maybe we had just small word problems, but there are some big word problems too. Okay, do not read your entire questions, read step by step, and whatever you have understood from that step, try to write it down. What will happen if you read the entire question at one go? You will forget that question again, and you have to reread it, which will hamper your time. The third thing is, whenever you have lot of like equations, expressions, or like the circle sum or exponential sums, whatever it is, try to cater the Desmos, try to use the Desmos. Okay, and the last thing is like, which is very important, that should come first, which is that practice a lot of sum, because when you practice you will understand more and more. Okay, as we have little time restrictions, so I think so I will take till here. Okay, I just hope that things are pretty clear to you. You must have got some idea related to how it will work. Okay, though right now it might look that Desmos is also taking a lot of time because I was explaining and showing it to you. But when you try to solve it at your end, definitely it will be consuming less time compared to your normal calculations. Okay. Also, one more thing, like Ayan was asking, like, this question was, SAT topics will maximum cover maximum from grade 10. Okay. See, whenever we talk about SAT maths topic, I'm specifically talking about. So if I look at the syllabus, okay, I do definitely say that it is from your 8, 9, 10, 10th grade. 8, 9, 10, 10th grade only. I'm not even saying 11th and 12th grade. It is 8, 9, 10th grade. Okay. But the topics like, your algebra is there. All your linear equations, parallel lines, slopes, perpendicular lines, your coordinate geometry, all of them will be coming. Your geometry will definitely, see, algebra to geometry, everything will be there. You are having basic algebra, you are having advanced algebra. Whenever you talk about polynomials, quadratics and all, they are all are advanced algebra. You will be having your normal geometry. Normal geometry means what? Lines and angles, 2D shapes, even you will be having 3D shapes, you will be having trigonometry. All of them will be coming. Okay, so it's important that 8, 9, 10, everything is actually interrelated. Okay, that everything will be coming under this. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Yes, you can use Desmos while attempting SAT. Now see what happens. I will tell you one thing. You are allowed to use your graphing calculator also. If you have your own graphing calculator, you can take that to the center. Or else, now I was switching the tab, right? Okay, in your actual exam, okay, in your actual exam you won't be having that. Okay, you will be having Desmos integrated over here. It's okay, so you have to put whatever it is working on the Desmos, you should be doing with over here. It's you won't be able to switch tab, but Desmos will be integrated on your video. Okay? Fine. I think I have taken a lot of time. It was wonderful meeting you, students. I would like to hand over to Faraz sir, and he will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Sapnali. That was a really interesting session. I guess I went through a little bit of time travel myself. I mean, imagining all of those hearing all of those topics here again was quite a nice nostalgic feel, I'd say, in that way. So I guess we'll be just concluding the session quickly, guys. For all of the people who have heard us through, really thank you. And I'm sure you all would have taken quite a substantial amount of information and understanding. I'll just quickly run you through the SAT diagnostic that we have with Let's Unbound. So whenever you come across and start working with us, we do the SAT diagnostic, and the kind of result or the report that you will see, the test summary, this is just to give you an overview how those reports look like. So you'll have a complete section wise breakdown, within section 1, model 1, and within section 2 you could see that is how your overall breakdown happens. This is just a rough view over that same aspect. Now, in terms of dividing this up in section by section, you'd be seeing the results pop in this way. You could see on your x-axis the number of the question number attempted, and on your y you have the various other structure aspects that we do evaluate, and we see your correctness within each question themselves. And we also, within the most expanded report, once you're working with us, we also do evaluate the time taken per question, even if you've gotten it right, that it just in case that you have taken just too long for you to evaluate it, we also do highlight and mark those aspects as well. It is not just about getting the right answer, but within the right time itself. And now this is section 2, the same kind of description that I just given across, that on the x-axis you can just see the number of questions and the topics on the y, and how, if you're correct or you were wrong or have skipped that specific question itself. So it gives you a quite detailed understanding of how you have attempted the exam itself, and you can see the divisions being put across. And again, just to repeat, that you would also see the time spent on every individual section. Now, one of the three most important pillars that we do consider within this whole SAT preparation, it's accuracy, getting the right answers, having the understanding and the application of the concept itself. But do remember, it's a battle of speed. It's a 2-hour, 14-minute examination. You need to work with strategy. You would have seen it in those various questions that were being, challenge that Swapnali was looking at. The question number 3 specifically, how she went across negating the wrong answers in a specific manner, which increases your accuracy, increases the speed, and that's the overall strategy that we do talk across on. And do also remember, it's a stamina paper. You need to sit for 2 hours 14 minutes. What we do help students while preparing them for such scenario is that you would be running through 20 mock tests, and then the eventual SAT paper is just the 21st test on its own, and you'll be well practiced by it. One of the most important things, and again, as Swapnali was also highlighting, it's all about practice. It's all about how much you're able to push in those extra yards. And just to leave a very important quote, and a famous quote by Bruce Lee himself, he said that I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick but 10,000 times. So that's the same philosophy that you need to be thinking across and following when you're preparing for your SAT. It is about preparing or practicing, let's say, one type of question as many as times as possible, and then going across and completing the whole syllabus itself. Now, the roadmap that we normally have, it's the diagnostics that we do, the report that I had shown you. We move across and create a personalized study plan. We help and we conduct sessions on one-to-one, one-to-many tutoring basis as well, which our Real Pride program is the one-on-one tutoring program as well. And we do create your exclusive strategy sessions. And as I've just said, we do run 20 different mocks that you could be taking, where eventually your eventual SAT is just as simple as the 21st paper in all of these exams that you'd be giving. Now, why digital SAT with us? One of those very important things, or the things that I've really liked, is that 3-tiered preparation that Let's Unbound takes you through. We start across in terms of a very basic level, getting you to understand the topics, and then we really increase it from there onwards to a medium and advanced level, in which by the time that you hit your advanced, you're totally ready for the admissions for the SAT examination. As I also had said before, there's a very good personalized attention that you could be getting through our one-on-one sessions, where optimal learning is the main aspect. And one of our Real Pride aspects have always been that as an organization that started across as a skill build, we have got decades of research and decades of work when it comes to be scrutinizing, analyzing SAT papers, and almost towards this time where we could almost prophesized that how this year's SAT paper is going to be coming across at, and eventually we are all in one preparation when it comes across for SAT, comes across for entrance exam, and overall in your admissions themselves. Now, what we do across, we help, we help with your tutoring and the whole strategy. You could see 90 hours in our normal program when it comes to your foundation prep, statutory, live mock. We do 45 hours of live tutoring as well. We've got 60 hours of mock tutoring, which is your 20 mock tests that you'd be going across and doing with us, which, and the various platforms that you could be looking across. So this is just to give you a very quick look at the various programs that we have. One now of the main reasons that we'll just go through of, students working with Let's Unbound. It's about working not just with your top kids that are having high scores, but also working with kids that were around under 1200 and taking them to a respectable score of 1340, which is a quite strength aspect that I wanted to highlight, that we are here not just to work with top kids, we are here to work with your strengths and to increase upon so. And along with that, we do also have these case scenarios where we have worked with kids who have had a 1300 score, SAT score, and we have taken them above a 1500 kind of a SAT score itself. And overall, these are the other programs that Let's Unbound does offer when it comes to your admissions abroad. As I was saying, that we offer a whole host of skill programs, from coding to public speaking, mental health, to preparing you for aspects as your AMCs and SATs, ACTs, advanced placements as well. So one-stop shop for all of your requirements when it comes to admissions abroad. This is just to give you a quick overview of the review and feedback that we have and the kind of universities that the students have gone through while working across with us. And you could just have a quick read at the kind of feedback that we have received over the years with the students that we have worked right from India, USA, Middle East. And as you can see, we have left a lasting impact in almost every kid that we have worked across with. At the end, I'll request you all to just scan this QR code. It will help you set up that one-on-one session for counseling, in which you could then move across to that SAT diagnostic. We could also then give you an understanding of a roadmap that would be very personalized for you, and we could also take this whole journey right through from SAT preparations to the admission journey itself. So we'd be really excited to see a lot of you guys join with us on a one-on-one session as well. Thank you for attending, and we've gone over the time spell. I'll just give you guys a couple of minutes. If there's still some questions that you'd like to share across, we would take them now, but if there are none, I would conclude the session. So I'm just looking at the chat section if there are any SAT questions. There's one: what grade is the right time to start with SAT training? Largely, I believe at the end of grade 10 is your hard, it's a very, very realistic preparation once your 10th course is over. But there are a lot of good courses that we also do run for kids in grade 9 and 10th itself, which is preparation towards moving SAT before the time period your syllabus has been concluded. So largely you can prepare from 9th and onwards. The most important preparation phase comes in after the end of 10th itself, conclusion of the syllabus. So what type of questions are asked in reading and writing section? Sapnali, do you want to take a couple of questions here? Is it possible to take SAT before high school? I won't really recommend it. I mean, take it once your high school syllabus is completed rather than before. What type of questions are asked in the reading and writing section? Do you want to take this question today, or do you want to postpone it to our English session that we'll conduct later?
I think so. English session teacher can guide better. If any maths question, math students, then definitely I will definitely try to answer. Okay. If any maths question, English teacher will be like definitely a good person.
We would conduct a very in detail session for English itself. I guess today, if there are any SAT questions, but please have them much more related to maths for Sapnali ma'am to answer. If there's anything specific, I'm just waiting a couple of more minutes. Otherwise, we will conclude our session for the day. It was a really nice journey. It was a really nice session conducted by Sapnali. And I'd like to thank her for that, Sapnali. And I think it's now time, so we can just conclude across. Thank you, Amol. Amol is the founder of Let's Unbound. He has been a very core member when it comes to creating all of these sessions and all of our interactions. So thank you to him as well. Thank you to Vinod for setting up the whole session. Thank you again, Sapnani. And we're
Thank you.
now concluding for today. Good night.
Thank you. Yes, yes.